Hey guys, welcome back to Insight Tennis Tour Stroke Series. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the one-handed backhand. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I'm a big believer that there is just too much talk about this concept of vertically brushing up the back of the ball, okay, in kind of a vertical swing. And I want to be very, very clear about this. I am certainly not advocating that there isn't a low to high movement through the one-handed backhand. There is, and that's actually what imparts the spin, that plus the rotation. But it is not a vertical swing. And I see this all the time. I hear it talked about and taught all the time. And it is really, in my opinion, hindering players. This is stopping you from going to that 4-5 or 5-0 or 5-5 levels. I can promise you. And you will be able to hit the ball over the net with that type of a swing, but you'll never be able to do it with the weight of shot, both topspin and flat, that you need to play at the 5-0 and above levels. And if you want to go to that next level, this is one of the keys, guys. So let me be very clear about what I'm talking about. First and foremost, there's too much information out there, in my opinion, talking about taking your racket back. So on a normal backswing, everything looks great. And then coming in and really dipping down, which is fine, but getting down here and then lifting straight up the ball and locking my legs out, like lifting and locking. When was the last time that you saw Roger Federer look like that? Okay? So guys, this just simply does not happen at the pro level. And again, I always say, don't take my word for it. Go look at the pros. You're going to see it very, very clearly. So I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying, that I'm not saying that there isn't a low to high movement. Absolutely there is. And absolutely knee bend is important. But this lifting and locking and vertically swinging straight up the back of the ball. I'm not even talking about out to my target. I hear people talking about literally brushing straight up the back of the ball. This just simply does not happen at the pro level. Okay, so what does happen? Let's talk a little bit about what the best players in the world actually do when they produce their signature strokes. And then we're going to illustrate the differences here on the wall for you. So you can not only see the difference in weight of shot, but also the spin. You'll be able to distinctly tell the difference in power, in spin, and specifically weight of shot, because I'm actually hitting out through the ball. So the best players in the world on that one-handed backhand, they have different variations of how they take the racket back, and that's fine. But Federer, for example, I'll face the camera here so you can see, when he takes his racket back, he actually turns his wrist this way so that his racket is facing the court. A lot of players just take it immediately and turn it here. Either way is totally fine. But one thing that they all do is they all come back to contact and they hit out through the ball. Okay, so I want to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. So if I have a really nice backswing here, okay, so I get my good shoulder turn and I'm coiling, loading energy, I'm stepping into the ball, I bring my racket down, and as I start to drive back to contact, I'm leveraged against my shoulder, I'm going to allow my racket to rotate back to contact. But this is the key right here, guys. You've got to go out to your target, okay? Out to your target. Now, there is rotation. There is rotation of the wrist, okay? You're going to have this rotation back to contact, and it continues to rotate through. And that is what imparts the spin, not excessive wrist rolling or anything like that. You want to drive through the line of the ball from a low position, finishing in a high position, and you're going to have plenty of spin on the ball. Now, one of the other great deceptions visually is that it looks like the pros are swinging up when they're actually not swinging up because of the physics. Okay, so let me explain what I'm talking about. If I'm coming into the ball like they do, and I come in and I make contact, here, and I go out to my target, my arm can only go out so far. So as I extend out to my target, Notice my arm is fully extended. It has to come up. There's nowhere else it can go. And this is what's so deceiving, because the up happens as a product of swinging out to their target and hitting out through the level of the ball. So this is the deception. When you watch the best players in the world, you'll see this very clearly. And they come here and they're going to come through and swing out and rotate and finish like this, okay? But that's because they were swinging out, and they have to swing out, or rather they can only swing out so far, and then the racket has to come up, because that's just simple physics. And that is what we see. We see this finish and we think that they actually did this idea at contact, but they don't. And my racket needs to go that way, okay? Out through my target, or to my target rather, and rotating and finish. And that's where you're going to have that heavy, heavy, heavy ball. So guys, the next time you're out there on that court, try this out. You're going to see that immediately you're going to have more weight of shot on the ball. Now, if you're struggling and you're hitting them all in the net, get a little bit more below the level of the ball. It's just simple physics, but it isn't an excessive lifting idea or brushing vertically up the back of the ball. If you're doing that, I promise you, you're losing power. And as you get to these higher levels of play, if you want to go to the 5-0s and above, never going to get there with that stroke. You've got to hit out through the ball on all of your strokes, from a low position to high position, and that imparts plenty of spin on the shot. Hey guys, welcome back to Insight Tennis Tour Stroke Series. Today in this segment, we are going to talk about the one-handed backhand. And if you saw the last segment, we discussed hitting out through the ball and not brushing up the back of the ball in a vertical motion. So today, what we want to do is illustrate the differences on a wall here, give you some examples, and you'll be able to tell very, very easily the difference in power, the difference in spin, and just simply weight of shot. And again, as I mentioned before, you can hit the ball over the net incorrectly. But if you want to get to those higher levels of play, this is critical. You've got to learn how to drive out to your target and hit out through the ball. So we're going to illustrate some differences here. First of all, we're going to show you this vertical brushing idea that it permeates the industry right now, that I think is really hurting a lot of players. The pros hit through the ball. They do not brush vertically up the back of the ball in almost a straight vertical swing. Even if I go out a little bit and up, they don't do that. They go out through the ball and finish up here high, as we've discussed. But the stroke, and the reason why the racket finishes high, is not because they're swinging up per se. Yes, they're swinging from below the level of the ball, coming into contact and finishing above the ball. And that does impart the spin, plenty of spin, when you consider racket acceleration and racket head speed. But it's very, very deceiving. Now, we've talked about this before, but the reason why it looks like they're swinging up is because as they go out, okay, as they go out to target, it can only go out so far. And once the ball's gone, you're going to see the racket will continue to rotate, and they finish with that racket up here. And that is what is so deceiving. So let's go ahead and look at some examples here on the wall and show you kind of the difference. And we're going to use the first one here is what not to do. What I believe is really hurting a lot of players is this brushing idea on that one-handed backhand here. So brush, okay, brush, brush, brush. I can play all day long back here. Straight vertical up the back of the ball. But guys, there's just absolutely nothing on that ball. That is going to get me in all kinds of trouble against a good player. It's going to land short in the court and there's just nothing on it. Okay. So in this next illustration, I'm going to go ahead and show you the difference of allowing my racket to rotate back to contact and then good extension out to my target. Now with no more swing, in fact, not accelerating any more than I just was with that example, you're going to immediately notice a lot more pace and a lot more weight of shot. Okay, so let's take a look at what it looks like to reach out to your target. Okay, immediately, massively different pace. And I'm not swinging any harder at that than I was with the others. I'm just releasing the racket. That one right there is about as hard as you could ever want to hit the ball. Okay, and guys, even at the above 5-0s, open levels, you never need to hit the ball any harder than I just hit it right there. If you can hit it that hard and place it and keep it deep, you can compete at any level. Again, guys, the bottom line here is power is generated by good technique and timing, not by how hard I swing. But I'm working against myself if I'm not allowing my racket to get below the ball, come back to contact, and then finish above that ball, but allow it to go out to my target. I am losing power, I am losing weight of shot. So when you start hitting out to your target and reaching out, if you're struggling with this and you first try this and you're hitting everything in the net, then just get below the ball a little bit more. Get your racket below the level of the ball, finish here, or contact here, and finish above, and you'll have plenty of spin on that ball. You never, ever, ever have to hit the ball any harder than that. I don't care what level you're playing at. So, guys, this is important. Reach out to your target. It's going to make all the difference in the world on that one-hand backhand.